There are a lot of people in here. I was thinking there'd be like 5 people, and all 5 of my subscribers and mom would be here. Everyone gets paid, yeah. You'll get your money. Oh. Well, we're right on time. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate seeing people here. Some of you don't know who I am, and that's probably about right, because I'm not really, just so you all know, I'm not really like a YouTube famous person. I just like making videos. To show how bad I am at it, I've published 1,500 videos, and I have only 10,000 subscribers. So I get about 1.25 subscribers per video. Is that math right? It's not. I don't get. You know, it's not. I started it because I like journaling and blogging, and I wanted to share trips and how to do oil changes and stuff like that. And people that do subscribe, you know, really like it. And so one of the most common questions I get is not about my videos, but how I make them. So I thought it'd be cool to just kind of talk about some of those basic tools today and share with you some. And I tried to, when I was thinking about my audience, I was thinking about the people that I am. I'm the president of the Vermont Club as well, and you know, people up there ask me all the time how to get started, and I'm thinking about them when I made this, which is, you know, I'm not going to say you should go to Guitar Center and buy all this thousands of dollars of equipment. Let's think about what you already have on you in your pocket, and try to put videos together. Not necessarily the cheapest way, but just a way that when you get done with your ride, you're not overwhelmed with all the different components to do all the editing and everything. Because one thing I hear from people is they'll buy a forward-facing GoPro, and they'll put a GoPro on their back and on their butt and, you know, their buddy, and then they'll do this epic road trip for 2 days, and they'll have 500 gigabytes of data, and they get home and they're like, I'm never going to edit this stuff. It's just too much. And so the point of this was to keep it really simple, and I'll try to allow for some questions as well. But really, I appreciate all you coming. Thank you so much. I think this is, you know, I covered a little of this, but you know, if you get injured doing any of this stuff, please don't sue me. If you have questions, jot them down, ask me at the end. And I was reading through the rally book, and I added this part because I was thinking, one of the only seminars, I'm not trying to sell you something. I don't have any product, no heated gear or tires or anything, or trips to Puerto Rico. And then, you know, really important, you'll find the theme here. It's really about your trip. It's you know, I don't have any sponsors. I'm not trying to get famous, and you shouldn't either. You should do it because you just want to take some videos and share them with your friends on Facebook. Again, kind of back to the trend, you know, doing it for yourself is really, really important. I think we all have that same feeling when it comes to riding. We don't ride to get in a motorcycle magazine. We don't ride to be on a reality TV show. We ride for us and for our ride and where we want to go and things you want to see or spend time with our friends. And that's the same way you should treat creating content. So, you know, if you choose to post to Instagram or Facebook, or, you know, start a blog, always think about, you know, in 10 years, when I'm looking back at this great trip I took, what do I want to, you know, what do I want to relive those memories, kind of like a time capsule. So I'm going to go right into some of the technical stuff. There's really only 2 products that I'm going to try to sell you on today, and that's the GoPro and the smartphone. That's it. There's a lot of other things you can do, and I know there's all kinds of action cameras, and you know, drones are another popular thing people ask me about, and I always tell people drones are just, you know, I use one myself, but it's a lot of work. So starting with the kind of the GoPro, why I like it so much compared to a lot of action cams, that some are cheaper and some are nicer, is that the GoPro, you can have it turned off and press the record button and it just starts recording. You don't have to wait for it to boot up, which is really nice. So if it's on your helmet or on your handlebars, you press a button and it's going, which is really, really good. It also has really good stabilization. So I had a really great video queued up, and it's just because I'm an amateur presenter, I didn't download the video in advance. I just put the embedded in the PowerPoint, and there's no Wi-Fi, so I can't play it for you. But if you look at my videos 3 years ago, the biggest problem, the reason why I think they're unwatchable now, is because they're really shaky. The stabilization, you know, first, sound quality, second, you know, stabilization. Those are kind of the big deal breakers when it comes to someone wanting to spend time and watch what you made. You've probably seen those handycam videos when you were kids and you had the big camcorder and it's like this, open up Christmas presents. You know, that's, people don't want to watch that, you know, for the most part. So the stabilization in a GoPro is digital stabilization, and I won't get too geeky very often here, but basically there's a piece of software after the thing is captured, and it's constantly trying to make your video look good, and it's trying to level to the horizon. So where that can hurt you is if you are riding your motorcycle and you look over to your buddy for a second while he does a cool wheelie, and you look back. Often the GoPro is going to out-stabilize your head movement and not capture your buddy because it's trying to track the road in front of you. So it's trying to account for small head shakes. So if you watch some of my videos now, you'll notice I'll spend about 4 or 5 seconds on a friend, and believe it or not, I'm actually still looking at the road. I'm doing this, looking at the road, because I know that I can't look away from the road, but I know I have to capture this. That's a good example of not riding for yourself, but it's the only way to get that shot. They also have a really long recording limit, which is great. So if I'm doing a day trip, I can just carry the one battery with me and record 30-second, 1-minute clips, and it lasts the whole day, which is really nice. There is a mic-in option, which I'll go into in some of the accessories. There's all kinds of aftermarket parts for these things, and it's also kind of unbreakable. I've done these things in some pretty bad situations, and they keep kicking. The second area I want to talk about is, and I included photos there of just kind of my setup. I do want to mention that for a second. So I'm going to give you a quick tour. So all of these setups on different helmets, these are the swivel. I'll show you in a second on the accessories page. It's a swivel mount that allows you to move the GoPro like this on a little pendulum, which is really nice. And you'll notice on this one, I've got a little lavalier mic hanging out that I've kind of zip tied around the base, and that's just the microphone that's going into my helmet. And you'll see if you have a modular helmet, you can mount it to the upper portion and the microphone will stay in your chin guard. If it's a non-modular helmet, you can kind of run it down behind here. But also, another thing I'll talk about in the next slide is the accessory called a media mod, which actually adds this little foamy microphone. When you affix this $100 accessory to your GoPro, what it does is tells the GoPro to turn on audio level gains, both up and down. I'm not an audio person, but I can see it on the screen. So when you're not talking and that thing's recording, even if you don't have a microphone connected, it'll pick up engine noises. But when you start talking a little bit above kind of how I'm talking to you now, you might have to yell a little bit in your helmet. It'll then tampen down the engine noises and pick up your voice. So that little thing there actually keeps you from having to run a mic if you want to. So that's a nice little accessory, and it's good for, it gets almost no wind noise at all, which is really, really nice. If you're going under 65, there's no wind noise. Second thing is the phone. Most people have converted to smartphones, and there are a few holdouts. Phones are expensive now, especially the ones with the 3 cameras or 4 cameras or 12 on the back of them. But I like phones just because it's always on you. They're good enough video because most people are going to consume your video on a phone. So, that's I guess a complaint of mine, because I like people to watch stuff on a big screen TV. That's how I watch YouTube, but I know people don't do that. But they're always either charging or have all-day battery life. And the good thing about the phones too is they have these apps that can do some basic editing. And there's even some apps that kind of one-click editing where it looks for the most motion or sound, and it kind of strings your stuff together. In fact, GoPro has an app called Quick that it's kind of as a one-touch edit button, which is great for people that don't have a PC fast enough to edit video or don't want to spend their whole Sunday after they get off a trip editing video. And some of these pictures here were taken with a phone. You guys notice as an MOA board member, I don't have gloves on here, so I'm sorry. But same thing. I will take it out of my holster, which I use here, and I'll take a quick clip in my left hand or behind my wife, or when I drop the bike. So the phone's nice to have. And I'll be honest, I carry with me a full-frame Canon SLR in my tank bag, but the phone is usually the default for when something's really happening right now, because taking the lens cap off and stuff takes time. So these are kind of some accessories that I picked out that I have a lot of GoPro crap kind of laying around from years of experimentation, and I've kind of whittled it down to, like, if I'm going on a trip, this is what I'm going to bring with me, and I'm going to walk you through this. The first thing is the helmet mount, bottom left-hand corner. That sticks to almost any surface. It's this really strong 3M stuff, and I've actually fallen off the bike onto the GoPro, and it hasn't broken that connection, so it's pretty stout. The swivel mount, which I talked about here, has this little thing here, which allows you to turn the GoPro around a lot, which is kind of cool. The lavalier mic is an investment if you want to get into recording voiceovers. Some people think I go home and then sit in front of a microphone and record voiceovers, but it's just all live. And then this is the media mod here, which does two things. It adds this little microphone, but it also adds line in for your lavalier mic, which is a nice addition because the GoPro itself does not have a line in anymore. And then, spare batteries, the chin mount. There's a company called chinmounts.com that makes 3D printed chin mounts for about 25 different helmets. So if you just want to have a front and center mount, some people don't like the hanging off the side thing. That's a cool little accessory to buy. They're expensive, but the fact they make one for like the Neotech 2 and the RF 1400, it's nice. They have kind of customized options, which is good. So all in on that GoPro page, you're probably out $450 or $500 if you want to really go the whole thing. But you can just start with the default case that GoPro sends you and a $10 helmet mount and just record for a few days and see if you like it. That's always an option too. Oh, I had one picture that I wanted to show you actually. This thing here, this little lens thing. So it's called the Max Lens Mod. It's made by GoPro. It's expensive, isn't it? I think it's $95. What this does is it actually, so I told you guys earlier about the digital image stabilization. That's all doing software stuff in the background. What this does is it turns your GoPro into a fisheye lens. I think it's 140, 150 degree viewing angle. But you can't see that because when you turn on stabilization, it gives you a normal focal view. But what it does for the GoPro is that it gives the GoPro about 8, 12 more inches of area to crop to stabilize your video. So it's recording about 2x of the frame and then keeping all that on standby for when the camera's moving around to make it really, really stable. And you can go online and look at some videos before and after adding that little lens mod. But if you're a dirt biker and you're doing enduro stuff, that's a really great way to get smooth video on the GoPro. My friends have a joke, by the way. They always say when they watch my videos or read my blog that I cost them money, so I'm sorry. So talking about smartphones, I'm using this guy right here on my lapel. This is a wireless transmitter. I think it's 150. It can send audio to my phone or my laptop or wherever. This is the way I do audio recordings when I'm doing stuff like product reviews. Speaking of products for your phone, you've got this little mini gimbal here, which folds up into like a nice little pocket-sized thing, and you can put that in your tank bag next to your wallet and such. And it makes your phone's stabilization even better because it's a 3D gimbal in all directions, which is kind of cool. If you want to do tracking shots of your buddy driving by, you can squat down and use a little thumb dial and kind of scroll the gimbal while he flies by, so it's super stable. And then for people that haven't converted to a smartphone or just want to run a really cheap smartphone because you keep breaking them, DJI makes this mini Osmo recorder that if you watched Long Way Up with Ewan and Charlie, they had those things. They just had little mini things in their tank bags. They're probably the size of like the height of a Bic pen is probably how big they are. And they have an SD card in them, and those are pretty convenient to use. And I also want to mention, because we'll get into this in a second, storage. So I'm a weirdo. I've got a 1 terabyte iPhone and it's 800 gigs full of video. Most people don't have more than 128 gigs on their device, or they buy an SD card that has 32 gigs of storage. This video stuff takes a lot of storage, and I'll get into it in the next slide here because my background is photography. I never would have caught this on video when my buddy dumped his GS in this hole because I was using a photo camera at the time, and because the storage of photos is so much smaller and photos are so much easier to edit, and Instagram is really easy with photos and Facebook has photo support. Videos are fun, but I try to tell people, if you can do it all in a picture, that's a lot less headache for you when you get home and you've got what is it, an 8 megabyte photo or a 1 terabyte video. But I do want to show, video can be fun. If you're rolling and you're just on a normal Sunday drive with your friends and you decide to use knobbies on an old Vermont road and you slam into a guardrail, I couldn't have caught a picture of that. So I was glad to have that clip. In my defense, I was, it was knobbies. It was like 34 degrees out, and we were leaned all the way over, and dumb. But anyway, yeah. Can you believe? You guys know this. I was new to destroying motorcycles. I've never done it before, and first time for everything. And the pegs that you stand up on your GS, because they're weight supporting, that's your frame. The peg is kind of into the frame of the GS. So when the peg hit that guardrail and pushed the peg into the frame and snapped those frame connector pieces, I don't know what they're called, you know, BMW saw that and said, well, we can't replace the frame, we're not allowed to, so it's totaled. And the rest of the bike was fine, like this little tiny. And if it was a KLR, we probably just would have welded it, but you know. But this is important to note. So, you know, 1 to 10 megabytes per picture versus, you know, 8 gigs per hour of video. That really adds up, and that's. I'll wait for that to. Yeah. Sorry. Can you all still hear me? Okay. Should I talk louder? All right. So, yeah, you got some. You know, you got some video storage requirements there. I'm going to go into a little bit about editing. I do want to talk. I had these 2 great video clips, and I was going to let them play for 7 minutes and give you some kind of video capturing tips that I've learned on the road, and I'll do that on the next slide. Editing video, you have you know, Adobe Premiere. That's, I think it's $100 a year or $200 a year or something. You've got Final Cut Pro, which is $300. And then you've got iMovie and stuff that comes on your computer. I would recommend most people, if you've got like an iPad or an iPhone or an Android phone, look at what video apps exist, you know, in those devices. And the reason why I say that is because it constrains you to capture less video and do less editing and get stuff out to your friends faster. If you know, get the big, you know, Macintosh with the big screen and all the expensive software, and you're recording, you're filling up 10 or 12 SD cards. It's a lot to manage, to, you know, handle all that data. And so if you can, do everything on an iPad with the GoPro Quick app or one of the $10 film video editing apps. And I'll link to some of them later in the video. It just keeps things, well, I guess it's kind of like, you know, you have a friend that'll get into model cars, and then they start, you know, buying machines to build all the little parts, and they, you know, get the paint equipment, and all of a sudden they've got this big workshop. It's like that. I'd say start off with the kit and then kind of graduate as you get more comfortable. So let me go to the next slide. I'm going to talk a bit about kind of just, you know, this will just stay up here rolling. Whenever I get up in the morning, and let's say I'm getting up in a campground or a hotel, I'm sticking the GoPro on my helmet. I'm putting a couple of spare batteries in the tank bag with my little mini gimbal, and the phone is charging on the little thing there. And I head out, and for the first hour of my riding, I don't record. I just look at the map, look at the sights, have some coffee, relax. It's not until I kind of decide, what am I going to do today? Am I going to do this road or that road, or go see this friend, or, you know, cross into Canada today because I'm in Vermont, and go explore the Quebec area, that I actually turn on the camera and go, good morning, welcome to the video, here's what we're going to do today. We might not, who knows, but kind of do a little introduction. I'm talking to myself in my helmet if you haven't figured it out yet. And then I turn it off, and then I don't record for a while until I come to something that I think is going to be something really interesting, either a nice twisty road, if you see the sign, you know, next 5 miles, or you see something you want to record with your phone, which is a, you know, a ice cream shop, you can get some ice cream, or, you know, go on a dirt road, or you see an ATV trail, you know, that's when you start recording. Because some people will start off and they'll hit that record button at 7 a.m. and they'll keep recording until 9:30 a.m. and they get home and they're like, well, that's 2 hours of nothing. So think about yourself and your viewer when you start recording, because either you have to edit it out, or your viewer in YouTube or Facebook has to scrub through it. So when you're getting to the publishing room, I aim for about 12 minutes per day of riding. A day of riding is about 400 miles. So, you know, think about that math. 12 minutes for 400 miles. That's, you know, you've edited a lot out, or you haven't recorded a lot, and, you know, that's just the way you got to do it. Now, I will add that I do have a ThinkWare M1 dash cam on my GS that records front and rear. So last week I was in Michigan, and I was driving down one of these roads, and truck, you know, doing 75 in the opposite direction with an old raggedy trailer, blew a trailer tire right in front of me, and tires went all over my windscreen, all over me, and almost took me out. Luckily, when I got back to camp, I had that little dash cam I could extract that clip off of. But you know, other than that stuff that happens really rare, I'd say don't record by default. Always be charging. Keep things, you know, near you for quick access. You can always review footage on your GoPro. You can actually look at what you recorded today and delete clips that nothing happened at. And the more you record, the more you have to edit. Yeah, so keep it simple. One GoPro, one phone. I like taking pictures. I like, this is at Moto Madness in Tennessee. Stabilized video is nice. I already went through that. Keeping things simple. I do link to these. These are some iOS apps, so iPhone, iPad. And all of them are free or very cheap and worth trying out if you want to download those. And you can actually edit videos that you already have on your phone. So try it out and kind of see what works for you. The clips thing from Apple is kind of cool. It has like a one-touch or one-click thing too, but that's not available on Android. Most of these are cross-platform. Let's see. So I think this is the one area that some of you might be able to relate to, and I feel old among some of the YouTube people for this because it's often most important that you share things that just happened. This crazy thing happened. I'm going to upload it right now. I don't work that way. Some of you might choose to work that way. That's why Instagram and those kind of apps that are so popular, because you record it on your phone and you upload it immediately to your friends. So, decide what you want your workflow to be. Do you want to record for 8 days and then go home and edit, or just post little 30-second clips to Instagram? That's fine too. Practice makes perfect. I think I uploaded my first YouTube video in 2005 and still doing it, and I still am bad at it. So don't beat yourself up over it. So just my nightly routine, and this is kind of boring stuff now. Don't leave, but we'll get to the good stuff later. Clean things up, get up early to make sure it's all charged. I mentioned recording clips while you ride. I do plug in my GoPro. My buddy Harry, he has one of those Sennas that has a video camera on it. And we ride together a lot. And I don't have any clips of me riding because I'm always the person shooting the video. And he'll send me clips. We went to Colorado and spent a week together. And he's like, oh, I got so many clips of you, getting air on this or doing this or dropping your bike in this hole. And he sent them to me, and all of the music was, all the clips were the video clip, which is great, but it's all thrash metal because the Senna embeds the audio he's listening to over the video clip instead of any engine noise. So all of his clips, I had to mute them in Final Cut Pro and then kind of talk over them like quickly because I wanted to show the clip, but I didn't want just, my stuff is kind of serene and all of a sudden Metallica comes on, and it was interesting to know what he was listening to when I was getting beat up on these dirt roads. And I think that this is one thing that I've had to learn over time. And you all know this if you're photographers. It's about the people and the people you meet, and humans like to watch other humans. And so, I know that if I go out by myself and just talk at the camera for half an hour, it's not a very exciting video. But if I'm showcasing someone living their life or building something or writing something, that's the good stuff. And I showed that in some of these photos. These are some of my favorite photos I've taken of some of my friends and a deer. But stuff that happens out there. This died. Battery's dead. Stuff that happens out in the world, it's kind of nice to just have that human person with you. So if you don't have any friends, I'm sorry, but you got to go make some. Again, same thing. These are two of my covers for the Owner's News. My buddy on his, I'm so proud of this. I got a KTM on the front of the BMW Owner's News. My buddy is 690. He's riding off on Engineer Pass in Colorado. Or another guy who just turned 17 doing the NEBDR with us on an Airhead. That's what makes great content, is try to capture people doing their thing. Now, what's not good, some of you guys are guilty of this, is your bike in different locations. So I try to my best, if I use Instagram, I try my best to not have just my bike at a different place, and then an hour later, here's my bike at another different place. These kind of photos get old after a while. So think about that if you're trying to build up a portfolio if you're actually trying to make a brand out of it, feature your friends, feature the person you meet, feature, a beautiful landscape. Don't put your bike in front of the landscape, in front of Niagara Falls or something. I also, when you go through this journey of trying to create content, eventually you're going to come down a path of, well, I probably need a better lens. I probably need more megapixels. I need to record it X, megabits per second when I'm doing this. You can record at 1080p. You can take photos with a 12 megapixel camera, because the story and how you deliver the story is what matters, not all this content. I've been guilty of that myself. I shoot everything in 4K. Then I had to buy a computer that I can edit 4K with, and then I upload the videos and I look at my YouTube stats, and no one watches it in 4K because they're on phones. So, that kind of stuff, just try to remember that. And then a couple more things before I let you go or ask questions. Keep it simple. Post to like 1 or 2 social networks. Wherever your friends are, post it there. Some people might want to try to learn what's up with TikTok, and I commend you for that. I haven't tried it myself yet, but wherever your friends are using social networks, go with those. And then at the end of the day, I usually, when I get to my campsite, get to the rally, I don't have my camera anymore. I'm at the campfire with my friends, playing guitar, drinking, that kind of stuff. People don't like being friends with people that have cameras in their faces all the time. And I see younger folks try to always capture and post, and they lose track of what we're all here for. And speaking of the choir, I know, but I was afraid there'd be like a teenager in here that, would need some advice. So I put in a couple things. If you can't read those, I'll read them. I'll read them out loud just real quick. You don't have to keep a schedule. You don't have to put yourself at risk. Lean over your bike, hang your camera down here to get that perfect shot and kill yourself. It's not worth it. Best equipment doesn't matter. People don't have to like your stuff or subscribe. You're not going to get famous. Maybe you might. There's a lady in Philadelphia that is famous on I think Instagram, and she curses like a sailor, but I think she's in her late 80s. And her shtick is obviously just raising hell and kind of being aggressive with people. And you might have a brand like that. You want to have a certain thing that people like, but if you're just genuine, you probably just keep it in check and be yourself. Keep the videos short. I don't always do that, but you probably should. Health is first, safety is first, and then try to not get sponsors if you can. And I say that because I've talked to some people. I have a friend who Revit sponsored her for 2 years, and she got to have any gear she wanted to for 2 years. And then she realized that she didn't fit well in their women's jackets. It just wasn't the right fit for her. And then she was barred from buying any other brand or being photographed at any other brand for the 2 years of exclusivity. And then when she asked for a different size, they said, "We've already sent you your one for the quarter. We can't do a swap." There's all these rules associated with it. And then they came to her once a month and said, "Oh, by the way, it's the first of the month. Make sure you get your Instagram post out featuring you. This time we want you in a stream or on a mountain or on doing this or that, picking up your bike." Basically, by accepting a $1,000 jacket, she had to get out there and do things for the brand. That works for some people. I'm just warning you that if someone comes to you with a sponsorship deal, that jacket may not be worth it for you. And then I added this to have fun. I took this picture at the GS Trophy in September in Greer, and that was a great time. So anyway, I'll leave some room for questions. I'm sorry I'm yelling at you now. My mic died. Anything I didn't address that you want to know about? Under your line, do you have cycle your SD cards every 3 to 5 days? Oh, good question. What do you mean by that? That's a great point, because I mentioned cycling SD cards. I didn't explain what that was. Those of you that have been photographers for a long time, if you've been professional photographers for a long time, you know that sometimes SD cards fail. Often at the worst times, you go to play back your stuff and it's dead or corrupted. So I don't buy 256 gigabyte SD cards. I buy 64 gig SD cards and just change it every day or two. So then I've got, I know that even if one of them dies, I still have 6 of the 8 days of my trip, as opposed to recording all to one and getting home and going, oh no, it didn't record. So that's why I do that. Yep. Yes, sir?
Which GoPro do you use?
GoPro?
Which one?
I'm using the 9. I upgrade every 2 years. The 10 actually had a reduction in battery life over the 9. So I value runtime over specs. Yep. Yes, sir?
Even at like a minute long videos, they add up quickly, and suddenly, how do you store and keep track of what you recorded? On a 5-day trip, suddenly you have 200 little clips. Do you keep that on a computer? Do you keep it on cloud storage? Do you carry hundreds of SD cards and never deleting them?
I mentioned that briefly, the cloud thing. So, I pay Apple $10 a month for iCloud storage. When I have cell phone service and my phone is plugged in, those are auto-uploading to iCloud. So if someone steals my phone, I might have most of that day's footage. That also means that my phone's never going to say you're out of storage. I can't do that with the GoPros or the DJI mobiles. Those are just SD cards, and I have this neat little, flat plastic thing that I can store the SD cards in with day 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. At home, though, again, that's why I said stick with mobile for editing, because at home, because I've been doing this for 15 or so years, I have an 80 terabyte network attached storage in my basement that is 60 gigs full of video. Most people, that's a lot of money I spent because I want to keep my stuff. But if you can keep it simple, you won't have to turn into a weirdo like me. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So this is kind of two parts. So you mentioned edit out like 80% of what you shoot, but you also said 12 to 15 minutes for a day's worth of riding 400 miles. So is that 12 to 15? Is that like what your content you're publishing, or is that 12 to 15 minutes of total actual recording?
It's very similar to wedding photographers, where they'll publish 10% of the photos they take, kind of as a good like, maybe if someone does it differently, I'm sorry, but that's the way I do it. I record about an hour a day of video across all devices. And by the way, they're all synchronized at the same time. So when you pull them into your video editor, this clip from this morning isn't down here. And then I usually get that hour down to about 10 minutes. So I guess it's about 80% or so of the stuff gets thrown out, basically. But if you record 10 minutes a day and want to publish a 1 minute highlights to Instagram, that would be your workflow. Yes, sir.
What type of videos are more popular in your experience?
I was gonna get out of this and show you my YouTube analytics, but the Wi-Fi isn't working. Most people, for me, 2 minutes and 55 seconds is like the average length of view time across all platforms, meaning TV, desktop, mobile, tablet. It's those that are on a television set watch my videos almost entirely, and the mobile people, they scrub through to the good parts and then close it and go to the next one. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Slide deck available?
It is. I can probably. I'll put it on the forums as a post. Would that work for you? I'll put it in Clubhouse or something, and I'll just say, here's the thing, and I'll do that later. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm not posting anything. I just my own personal consumption, but I fall into the trap of all this video, and then you get all this editing. And I guess I always struggle with. It's like every time I don't have the camera on, it happens. It's what you want, and you say when you see a curvy road, I get that, but.
Yeah.
So many of the things that happen seem to be right then.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if I don't have the camera running and I miss the one and not any words of wisdom on that?
Well, you back up, drop it again.
I was gonna say, landmark or whatever, you go back and redo it, right?
I think some of you have probably watched Motorcycle Travel Channel with Sterling Norrin, where he did that trip recently. He threw in some really great clips that shows him walking up to a tree, throwing his camera in a tree, walking back, hopping on his bike, riding through, walking back and picking his camera up. I don't do that. I just don't do those kind of things. But what I will say is that you have two choices. You can carry a couple of GoPro batteries on you and just basically constantly be recording and throw it out at night. Or you have to accept the fate that you've missed a few things. When I was in Labrador, Canada, we had been on this 4-inch gravel road for 3 hours going north to south from Goose Bay. And I was looking behind my buddy like this because we were in a dust cloud that was a mile long. And I veered over where the great truck had poured like a foot of gravel that they were going to like spread out. And I veered over it, and it's 60 miles an hour. I just slid on my back for 100 feet. And I wasn't recording it, and my only saving grace was when I got the bike packed up, I hit the record button, and my adrenaline's flowing. You can hear my voice is startled and kind of freaked out, and I'm talking through what just happened. That's the only thing I could do to really save that clip. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Do you do anything with thumbnails, outsourcing with Fiverr, or just make your own? Does that matter?
Yeah, so last year I finally passed 10,000 subscribers after 15 years. And sorry, it's just self-deprecating, I can't help it. And I did in that video, I did say to everyone, I'm going to start using thumbnails finally, because I never used them before then. And now what I do is I have Adobe Creative Suite that I pay for, which has all the apps. That includes access to a service called express.adobe.com, which has a mobile app, which you can buy separately. And in there, you can then, take your photo and you can then put some font over it or stuff, and it exports to YouTube thumbnail size. I've started doing that, and now I've gotten in that habit. So on my trip in Michigan last week, where I did 8 days and 4,000 miles, I started taking a photo a day that I felt would be a really good thumbnail, and because I knew later I had to use that one for that daily vlog. Yes, sir.
My understanding is most folks who view don't care about like the fun engine noise and that kind of stuff. But what's the simplest and least expensive way to kind of edit out that screaming wind noise and that sort of, you know, distortion that happens anywhere over 40 miles an hour? Do you use like, you know, glue a little dead cat fuzz on where your microphones are? You know, the more I try to figure out how to plug in mics and stuff, the less fun it is, the more cumbersome it is.
Yeah, that GoPro Media Mod will get rid of most sound that is interstate sound. I ride a GS, so I've got a windscreen the size of a tank, so that helps too. On my dirt bike, I take off that Media Mod thing and I use the lavalier in my helmet, and I just try not to breathe so heavy because it's inside of my chin guard, kind of in this little area, so you don't get any wind noise. Those are the 3 ways I've done it. But yeah, no, if there's a screaming wind noise, people will stop watching your video after 5 seconds. It just can't take it. Yeah. Yes.
So Android phones, you say Adobe Suite for editing on the smartphone?
I'm just gonna guess that Android probably has a lot more video editing apps than Apple's does, because Apple just tends to have, in my opinion, they're kind of restrictive on what you can publish to the App Store. So you probably have a lot of choices, and I'd just say try a few of them. I wish I could. I don't have an Android. If someone has an Android phone, they do video editing, please share what you use. But I don't know. I'm sorry. Well, GoPro Quick is for Android and iOS, and I think GoPro Quick, it's Q-U-I-K. You can import videos from your camera roll to edit those. So I would try that one out. It's a free option. Yep. One more, yes, sir.
So just to kind of piggyback on his question, but on the
Yep.
opposite side. So you talk about, have you found that there's situations where, like, because ASMR has become pretty popular on YouTube recently, is there found situations where that's actually enhanced the video leaking, like more natural or more, like, spears up the experience?
I've tried that. So I recently bought an R18 bagger, and I went to my favorite road in New Hampshire, which is Hurricane Mountain Road, and it's a single lane but 2-way traffic road with a lot of whoopties and curves and stuff. And I basically just left the GoPro mic on unfettered because I was never going over above 45, and just had an engine noise video. I personally don't get a lot of reactions out of those. I know there's a YouTuber out of the UK called Royal Jordanian. His setup is that he has a mic in his helmet with like a clicker for the mic that's like on his shoulder or his back, so that he can do a clicker for either conversations with pedestrians or engine sounds. And people seem to really dig that new to 900 sound, so that's been his thing. But I don't know definitively yes or no, but I would say give it a try. That's the great thing about YouTube too, is you can really have some fun with it, and you know, you can have a motorcycle video that's just great roads on my S1000RR and no talking, and you'll probably build a pretty good audience that just loves that kind of stuff. Yes.
Do you ever use a GoPro for still photography? Is it quality good? And how fast is it? Can you operate the phone faster than the GoPro?
The GoPro has a slower boot up time than the phone. I can tell you that. You know, 3 or 4 seconds versus, you know, I put the phone and I have a little shortcut on my home screen for the camera. Back to what I said earlier, I'm a traditional photographer where I started by using real cameras, and I have not made, some people take screens out of their videos and they use those. I've never experimented with that. Because 4K has enough pixels, supposedly you can capture an image out of it. But I know there are some GoPro photographers out there that, you know, do great things with like time lapses and stuff too. So there's a lot of creativity. The great thing about these small cameras is they're always with you. So if you see something great, if you catch it in time, you can, you know, really get something good.
If I can comment on that.
Thank you.
2 things. With my now aging eyes, I don't see the little screen well at all when it's mounted to my helmet. I can't see what the heck it's telling me. And the rare times I'll click over to photo and use my GoPro and capture some photos, I get back on the bike, and then I see something cool and I hit video, and I'm still in photo mode. And I'm just taking like a photo of the minute-long cool road that I thought I was recording. And then I get out and I'm like, well, that was stupid, you know. So just make sure that you remember to click back in the video if you intend to go back.
I wanted to leave you with one technical tip that you're all going to encounter on modern smartphones and GoPros. There's a file format called HEVC, High Efficiency Video Codec. I love it because it makes my SD card fill up about 30% slower because they're very compressed with not much loss of quality. However, HEVC requires, I think it, back when this first came out in 2018, it required like the 8-core Intel machines with like 64 gigs of RAM. Like it was a very power-hungry codec. And so some people bought brand new GoPro Hero 8s and 9s, shot for a week in HEVC, and they would install the Adobe app, and it would say, your computer is not fast enough to edit this, or it would be stuttering the whole time. So for starting out, I'd say turn off HEVC off just to make your lives a little bit easier. Yes. How am I doing on time, by the way? Am I running out of time? Sorry, I want to make sure I don't. 12:45. We're good. Sorry.
Are there any online communities, Discord channels, or anything that you would recommend people to kind of look into to kind of have, people that moto blog, right? That are worth listening to on other than this fine material.
No one should subscribe to my channel. Thank you. I don't know that answer. I'm a bad community member because I don't watch a lot of motorcycle content on YouTube. I like documentaries and like old films. So I make this stuff because I know that my 2016 Trans-Labrador trip, I watch that like every 2 years, and I just for an hour I just sit back and watch that because I just like it's fun. It's a fun memory for me with my friends. So they're kind of for me, not for that kind of thing. Sorry. We've got like 10 more minutes, but if you're bored, feel free to leave. Any more questions?
Are longer videos on YouTube attract more people, or the shorter videos on Twitter and TikTok? And
Shorter is better.
Shorter's better?
You want, yeah, you're some people feel differently, but I'm talking about the majority of people are going to want to, they want like, if you're trying to catch a video of someone at McDonald's throwing a shake on someone, you don't want to watch the person pull up to the drive-thru, order the cheeseburger, pay, and then say something mean and get a shake thrown on. You want to see the shake moment. So people want to get to the action and not wait for it. Because I make vlogs, video logs, blogs, I try to take someone through that day. And but for my Michigan trip, my Michigan trip was 2 hours of content over 4,000 miles, 8 videos. But then I posted a 5-minute every time I drop my bike in a mud hole video, just 5 minutes of me dropping my bike, because I know some people just want to see that stuff. There was one mud hole where the bike wasn't laid over that far, but I had to stand in the mud to pick it up. And every time I got about halfway up, my boots would just slide into it. And so for about 45 minutes, I'm just so I took my panniers off and then I had to drag it actually into the mud hole so I can get footing to pick it up. And I didn't record that whole thing because, no one wants to see that. Yeah. Thanks. I was exhausted and the flies were, swarming. Any other questions? I'm so appreciative you guys came. This is my first time. It'll get better next year, I promise. But thank you for coming to this. I appreciate it. Thank you. Cool. All right. Enjoy the rally.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Shame my microphone died halfway in, but.
That's why I'm in front.
Yeah. I turned off. I still have 1 bar left. I thought,
So you brought your own mic?
no, they provided my backup for later. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Great presentation. Thank you very much.
What's the name of the little swivel?
Oh, if you go on Amazon and you just do GoPro swivel, you'll find it. If you have your phone, I can show it to you.
Oh, yeah.
Search for it.
I know.